Good evening. It's Wednesday, I think. I'm a little bit confused about days of the week today. Yes, it's Wednesday, which means I should have done my bins. I'm really bad about that. I say that nearly every Wednesday. I should have done my bins. So, as you know, it is the way of my life. Now, yesterday, as we left off, we were kind of out of bobbins, which meant we gave up pretty quickly. Well, I've done some more bobbins today. Have I done enough bobbins? Don't know. I did as many as I could, which was not a lot, I do have to confess. But we only needed 10 to do this bit, which opens up this bit and this bit. So, if nothing else, we should have enough for that. So we have a big pile of pins, we have bobbins, we have itches, I've been fed, the dog's been fed, I've got a drink, I didn't go for a pee, I have failed on my checklist once again, but we shall do our best. I need 2 for these. As I pulled this elastic band off these bobbins, bear in mind both through my head, there was a noise across the room, like the elastic band had hit the other side of the room. I just need to check something for somebody. Why is it I always click in the wrong place to grab a screen grab? So, no, don't undo. Le pin. Hey you, how you doing? No, not really. Um, it depends, right? It really does depend. So, when there are people to talk to, and when there are people to talk to, and it's kind of and they're having conversations with each other, and there's general charty craftiness going on, and it's maybe they're crafting in the background, and so they're telling me about what they're doing. It feels really like there's a bit of a community, and it feels worth it. When, for example, the first time I did a late night Saturday stream so that people in other time zones could join in, right? I found myself, there were 8 or 9 people, which is a lot for this stream, let's truly be honest here. So I was really pleased. The last couple of Saturdays, well, last Saturday I pretty much talked to myself. And that I don't like. Now, I have repeatedly pointed out, I am not streaming for people. I am streaming for my own kind of records. However, it's a bit like going to a library and sitting and reading a book. Being surrounded by other people doing something similar is reassuring. And it's, this is rather an arduous task. I really didn't want to do this square. I wanted to do a side project, but I didn't pick one in time. So I've had to kind of keep going with the squares. And to be honest, square 26, 25, whatever the heck it is, 25, really kind of bored of triangles now. Really, really had enough of the whole triangle thing. And, it really isn't helping that, there aren't people to talk to. And because obviously, as you struggle with repetitiveness, it's a bit like solving a bad bug in your code, right? If you've got people around you who are programmy types, even if you're not talking about the actual thing, yeah, but I need. Dar- Darling, I have the answer for you. Mine reads me your messages, so I don't have to look at the screen. I can concentrate on what I'm doing. And I've got it warning me when there are potential spam bot dudes, so then I do go and look at the screen. It tells me when there are ads coming. It tells me when the ads are actually running. It tells me if I accidentally hit mute, because I've done that a few times. It can't tell me I'm still zoomed in or I'm on the wrong screen particularly, because, well, maybe I want to be, so but I've got it reading me all the text that comes up. And this is really quite helpful for when you're concentrating on sewing ends and unpicking tangles. So I can definitely recommend having it read to you. I've even now trained it because on my Be Right Back screen, I've added a stupid fucking game. It's called Words on Stream. But what I don't like about it is that if, for example, I need to hit Be Right Back because I'm having a medical emergency or the door's gone or the dog's doing something, I've also got to click go in a web page. Even though it says, click here to automate, you won't need to click anything, you still need to start it off. Which kind of And even if you're then not looking at it, it's trying to play in the background and saying you're failing all the time because yeah, it's a bit shit, frankly. But what was happening, of course, is let's say I wanted a wee, I'd hit be right back, hit play on the thing because of course you've got to have loaded it in advance. So you hit go, it then brings up things, and people get to guess words from letters on the screen, right? Well, the problem was, of course, is my ready thing was reading me all the random words. So I've even stopped it doing that now. Because, that can be... Mind you, it's quite funny. You can often, if you're sitting on the can, you can guess the letters that they've got by the words that are coming up. It's quite funny. But it's, random words are kind of not a good thing. But yeah, I've got it reading me all the stuff, so I don't have to look at you. It will tell me that... Well, this is it. Well, I started doing this because obviously me looking up and realising I haven't looked up for 15 minutes and ignored somebody who's probably long since gone is a bad idea. The one side effect is that I am not a trained interpreter, and as a result I'm not very good at holding a conversation when there's a delay, but also I'm replying and then say you add something else. I tend to stop and listen to it because I'm not used to talking over myself while listening to something, and especially as, of course, it's in my ear. It's not like real life where you talk over other sounds, for example. It really is, kind of intrusive because it's right in my ear. I've got a ear thing. Hang on. Ear thing. Right. So you don't hear it. I do. And it only comes to me. So it doesn't have to read it on the stream and be all kind of, Well, what you can do is, assuming you're Windows, because you're not kind of, well, I'm pretty sure you're Windows, you can use the Windows thing and have some things come out of one sound device. Yeah, you can have some things come out of one sound device and other things come out of other sound devices. So, for example, the music that you can hear... Yeah, so the music that you hear, I don't hear it at all. And in fact, I almost have to go and look to see if it's playing, right? And in fact, I've hidden the source, so I don't even see if it's playing. I just assume it's playing, right? There is music, or there was music. Hang on. Hang on. Yeah, there's music. It's quiet, but there is music. Oh, that's weird. Was it not playing? Because I did that weeks ago, and every time I play back my stream, because obviously I have to click on it. Oh, okay, it should have been there. As I said, it's not that loud. But obviously, well, it also has quiet bits. So it could be it was on a really quiet bit, which is also, kind of how it all goes. So, it is. But I find myself sitting there going, I don't want to listen to that. I have had someone complain that the music's repetitive. Well, there is 3.5 hours of it. So yes, it starts at the same thing every day, but it is not repetitive throughout the stream. It's not like I've got one tune, So and of course, as I'm sure you know, copyrightable music that doesn't suck sorry, non-copyright music that doesn't suck is a lot harder than it sounds. Now, if you're not recording it, you can do copyright stuff. But because I'm going to stick it up on YouTube, I've got to have music that satisfies everybody's rules and regulations. And this particular set of music is free to be used. Well, it's funny you should say that. I tried that. I really did. But what I found was that even OBS, if I said to it, save this to, I wanted to do maybe one tune to stream, one tune to saved, because you're supposed to be able to do that. So I tried it. Didn't work. Now, it sort of worked in that if I then put it in video editing software, there were 2 tracks and I could silence the one I didn't want. But I had said, do only save, I know, tracks 1 and 2, which were, or 1 and 3, which were going to be my voice and the computery stuff. Save just 3, and it didn't. It saved my voice and song stuff to 1, and it was supposed to save my voice and non-copyright music to 2. So I said save 2. Well, it didn't. It saved 1 and 2, so defaulted to the copyright stuff. So I had to then go in and edit it, which then meant that it had to process it, which then meant that it took ages. And as it already takes a really long time for me to upload my videos, pretty much 3/4 of the amount of time I stream is repeated in me uploading it to YouTube. So it kind of sucks, really. And so well, and this is one of the things, is that the settings, I don't know about you, but the settings in OBS seem quite clear. It says, under your OBS settings, which one should I send to, and you can send to Twitch a channel that is going to be streamed and a channel that is not, that's used on your VOD. So you can have one which is voice and, interesting music of happiness. Well, I've had a few issues in the past where a random Windows update has completely mullered everything. It stopped my voice from being heard. It changed all my settings. And you're going, that's really nice of you, but couldn't you have said something? Because, when you saved it and it said, use this microphone, and when you loaded it, you decided not to, surely this was a conscious decision that you could have mentioned, But this is the problem I find, is that I wanted to do more interesting music, but I found I couldn't. I really found that I struggled to make it happen because it just didn't want to play ball. It just was not a happy soul. And I'd quite happily listen to some interesting music in my earroll for when it's quiet, and then I can be listening to something interesting. But I can't, because I tried some different earphones as well, because these can be a little bit annoying for my ear. And you might have seen them. They're the Lenovo X15s that keep getting advertised freaking everywhere on the internet about how awesome they are, and Apple are going to ban them. It's a load of horseshit, but how Apple are going to ban them because they're so great. Yeah, if you put them in your ear and even have it on quietly, it's like an 80s headphone, where you can hear, and you're like, because I had interesting music in my ear one day, because I can play something else in my ear. So, for example, right here, right now, I'm listening. It was. Right here, right now, I'm listening to the Unity GDC thing, right? And you can't tell, because you just can't, right? And it's reasonably loud in my ear, even though I keep turning it down. But you can't hear it. If I use the other earphones, you would absolutely hear it. Even though I've got a proper microphone. Hang on. No, I can't really show you it. But I've got a proper microphone. It's reasonably directional. I mean, it's not properly directional, but it is reasonably directional. It's, it's... and all the rest of it. And yet, this bloody awful headset thing, well, these earphones that are supposed to be bone conduction and all the rest of it, no, all it does is broadcast it to the universe. I might as well have a speaker on the side of my head. So, not very impressed with them, but then I didn't pay. That's okay, he's muttering away. And to be honest, it's the usual kind of upbeat, oh, I'm one of you kind of talk. Because that was one of his first opening gambits, was how, well, I've only been in the job 9 months, and I used to be one of you, so I can offer the user point of view. And it's like, very, very much. But it is the, I'm one of you. No, you're not. You don't have your salary and be one of us, right? It's always one of those things that you find slightly irritating. Yeah, we're all CEOs walking around with $1 million paychecks. Of course we are. It's like when, some of the real top politicians go, oh, we know what it's like. Dude, you have never been as broke as the rest of us. Your idea of broke, you just write it off and start again. I mean, come on. I mean, they had it out with... They had it on the British TV. One of the... I think it was the water guy. Does it really matter? But it was one of the, kind of essential amenities, electric, gas, water, something along those lines. And they said to him... And he was kind of going, oh, I know how hard it is. And they went, and what was your salary this year, including bonus? Oh, well, it's well documented. No, come on. Facts and figures. Lay it out. Oh, well, it was 4.2 million. And it's like, dude, I'm sorry, but that's not like the rest of us, It's just not. Yeah. One of the things that's slightly popular to moan about over here is the number of charities where the head, whatever name they wish to take, whether it's CEO, managing director, whatever, right? The leader of a number of charities often is... Oh, by the way, Unity's all about AI this year. Shocker. It's the one thing we don't want for them. Anyway... not in the way they're talking. They're talking about it doing things for us. No, the only AI we want is to be able to make mobs do things, right? Because the rest all come with a big price tag. So, yeah, it was, the number of CEOs, the charity CEOs who have £1 million paychecks, and it's like, you're a charity. People give money to the charity for you to help people, not so you can buy your next yacht, That's quite a common moany thing here in the UK, is how some charities, not all, but a surprising number, the higher up members of staff are not poor by a long stretch. And it is quite frightening because, if I give 100 quid to a charity that, really, ticks all my boxes of things I want to help in life, I kind of wanted to think that 100 quid was going to the thing I wanted to help, not going in the top man's pocket. And, it makes you wonder how much of the money you give actually ends up going to the cause in question. Because, of course... yes, they've got buildings, they've got other staff, they've got... And you suddenly kind of end up going, so if I pay you 100 quid, how much that 100 quid goes to other people? And the answer probably is a handful of quid. And that does not make people happy. Because, of course, charities do get... It is, especially how some of the charities are quite rejective in what they will actually do. Thinking of the RSPCA, one of my favourite charities to shit on, following my father. But, you know, it is something that you do find yourself kind of getting a little bit frustrated with, is because you're sitting there and, you know, as I say, you give money because you want to help animals or whatever, and what you actually find out is that, well, what that actually did was pay for stupid woman at reception and her dog, because of course she's got an emotional support dog, and oh, well, we can't take your dog and we'll kill it if we do. And hang on, you're supposed to be the leading royal national charity for animals, and what are you doing for that? Oh, because the number of times, I mean, in my old house, there was a guy a couple of doors down, technically in another street, who most nights was kicking his dog around the garden. And I phoned the RSPCA, and they wrote back, "We're not interested." I'm sorry? He's kicking his dog around the garden, and you're not interested? No, they're only interested when they think they can get in the press with it and sensationalise it. And I'm sorry, but you're a charity there to help animals. Help the damn animals, you know? We saw a horse that was, a few years ago, out dog walking, we saw a horse that was really, really old on a blistering day. And I mean, you know, kind of put your hand out the window and watch the blisters form kind of day. And we shouldn't really have been walking the dogs, but that was another story. But we had streams for them to jump in and all sorts. It was hot. It was one of those kind of like, am I a vampire days, right? And we saw this horse. It was lying down. It had no water within visibility. So wherever water was a far away. There might have been some down the bottom of the field. But at the same time, the horse was at the top of the field where the shade was. In a coat. It was lying down, and horses don't generically lie down. And so we called the RSPCA, and they didn't go. And we phoned up, and it's like, oh, well, no one's been yet. What do you mean, no one's been yet? Anyway, we ended up phoning about 5 or 6 times, and eventually they did go down. And it did turn out that the horse was... they did decide that the horse was not really suitably cared for, but that there was water, so all they really had to do was talk to the guy and tell him to move the horse. And it was kind of like, yeah, and if we hadn't repeatedly called you, that horse would probably be dead by now, and you're acting like it was not really a problem. This bobbin's done funky things, and I don't quite know what it's done. I'm not quite sure what you've done, bobbin. No, that hasn't helped. I need a pokey stick. It does a bit, doesn't it? But yeah, I just kind of... It's always so upsetting. I mean, when I found our brown dog, Kira, all those years ago, best part of 25 years ago now, give or take a couple of months, Kira was walking around a dual carriageway, playing chicken with the traffic, and when I phoned the RSPCA, they said, "Is she injured?" And I said, "No, not yet." "Oh, good." And they put the phone down. I'm sorry, you know. Pretty much. But as you say, call her once she's run over. Well, she might be dead by then. Don't you think it's a slightly better idea to grab her in advance? So needless to say, of course, I took her home. But of course, under British law, you can't keep them. You have to give them up. Otherwise, up to a year later, someone could walk up to you and go, "That's my dog," and you have to hand it over. Proof or no proof. So, you know, we had to hand her over for a bit, and then we had to pay to get her back. And we don't regret a single moment. Poor old Brown. She was a good girl. She was a bit like Rory in the sense that most of the time you wouldn't have noticed you had her. But she kept Charlie happy. It's a good friend for Charlie. Oh, on the Unity front, they're planning versions up to 6.3 this year. So they're going, oh, well, it's the first time we'll have released 4 good releases in a year. Whatever. The problem for me is that if they change things too quickly and kind of almost make stuff redundant at the same speed, stuff's going to go out of... It depends. I mean, I'm not going to say 6 is bad in any shape or form. 6.1 looks a bit ropey, but it's still not live, so there's still hope for it yet. But at the same time, you know, if they make too many, I mean, obviously, you'd like to think that a lot. See, in my mind, most of us. Ouch. Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I found that 6.1, if I put my game as 6.1, all of those little tags that you can set so that you can find certain things easily. So you set an icon and it puts the name in an icon on the screen. It's like as a gadget so you can find it or see where it is. All of those, only half the letters show up. And it makes you wonder what else is being munged in the background. So 6.1 is not a friend of mine yet. Because when something that simple is broken, yuck, right? And it doesn't seem to be a font thing, because, well, it's the Unity font after all. It's not like I changed it or anything. So it suggests memory issues or bad calls or something. But yes, I've I played a bit with 6.2, but my concern is that we all know, for example, they want to drop the built-in render pipeline. Well, that's okay, except for the fact that if you produce 6.1, 2, 3, and 4 this year, now surely while 6 is on, there is basically going to be no major changes. But then almost if there's going to be no major changes, why do you need 6 minor versions? Because they're not minor versions, are they? They're big versions, really. I mean, even with 6.1, they're talking about introducing this and, we've changed all of that. Well, that's a big change. In theory, if you have major version, 2, then you should be able to upgrade to any version of 2 and know that your stuff is still going to work. Well, unless you made use of a bad bug, right? But no, 2.1 can break 90% of 2. 2.2 can break, it's nearly as bad as Java. Oh look, we've gone up one, it's not even a minor number, it's a, almost a compile number. Hey, we broke stuff. Can we not? Can we not be doing that? It just seems poor planning. And of all the people to be doing it, developers doing it to other developers seems a really poor choice. As I said, it's. I'm really pleased that they're working hard on it, but then at the same time, they've just laid off a load of people. They've killed off or potentially killed off the behaviour package that they'd put together. Because they sacked the team. And, well, I'm sorry, but people were beginning to really like that. It was basically free behaviour trees. Like the asset you buy off the store, but free from Unity. And it actually worked. And it was really easy to build your own nodes for it. I mean, proper easy, right? And not, if you know. No, this was proper easy. And yeah, no worries. Well, if I'm still around, yes. Go get your missus, otherwise she will eat you. I find adding bobbins in rose ground quite difficult for some reason. So how's everybody doing? I'm sure there are people out there. That's not right. Hello, Rory. I have fed you, do not be lying. I did. I did feed you. Yes, I did. Rory's not being quite himself today. He seems sad today. His little tail has not wagged as much as it should. Hello, head butter. Hello. You're happy today. Yes, I know you're happy today. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I know. You've been a good girl today. Mostly. Out. Headbutting me, though, is not the answer. And winding up your brows is also not the answer. Because you've done lots of that today, haven't you? Yes. Off you go. Dogs. Yeah, little man seems slightly sad today. His little tail has not been happy. He doesn't seem unhappy. So he doesn't seem to be in pain. He just seems to be slightly sad today. Aren't you? Stop licking my jumper. Thank you. Yes, that's my face. It's better, but you know, maybe I didn't need a wash. Maybe I didn't. I know you think I do, but I'm not sure you're right. No, I'm not. Is it because I'm sitting more on your end of the couch again? So that I can be more comfortable. Is it, pups? My little man. He's just been kind of... It's a bit like a clingy toddler. He's just been a little bit off colour, haven't you? Little man? But you're a good boy. And I've told you so lots of times. Oh, lie down. There you go. No, I know you want to hold my hand. No, don't shove my bobbins. My bobbin hand, I can't. No, Rory. Rory, I know. I know a dog's amount of hugs is unlimited, but my man. Oh, do you need bigger hugs? You need bigger hugs, do you? Well, it doesn't help. No. Not helping. No, you're not. A whisker up my nose is not the answer. It's not. Where is that whisker? Because it's growing at a funny angle up my nose. Yes. This whisker you keep trying to manage to poke up my nose. Do you? Oh no. There's fresh water down. I gave you nice clean water. Because I don't know what you've done with the last one. It looked like you'd wiped your butt with it. So I gave you nice clean water. And you won't have drunk it all. How do I know that? Because you didn't come in here and puke it on the carpet. So I know there is some. It's enough now. I do love you. I love you an awful lot. I do. Yes. Yes, I do. But, my dear friend, enough now. I need to sort this bobbin out because despite only winding it earlier, it's already trying to turn into a tragedy. It's a good boy. Put some of you in a stick. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we steal the extra one out there, that makes 5. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need shortening because you've grown. And we get a stick from the stick part. We stick here. See, these are so much more safer in the sticks. I mean, I know they make the sticks taller. The pile of stick grows more with these, but they stay in the sticks, whereas the others did not so much stay in the sticks. So different sticks would be needed. In fact, possibly crochet chain link thing would be needed, of which I would need to make one because I don't have one. You just make fillet squares, but one row, and you make them all empty obviously, or you can put occasional filled ones to count them out. So if you wanted to put 10 together, you could do 5 a filled in one and 5 to make it easier to count. Do if you like, really. But I do not have one, so I would have to make one. But still, it wouldn't hold the other ones very well because they're straight, but probably make pockets and slip them in. That could work. But then that becomes like complicated. It's more of a kind of sewing project almost, rather than a quick chain a few things. It'll do, you know. Because then you've got to make long enough to put the bobbins in up to a decent depth, but also have like the holes at the top. So you'd make a pocket, and almost like a test tube holder, in that it's got a pocket that the bobbins can sit in and keep them all straight and tidy, and then like holes at the top for them to dangle into. That could work for straight bobbin, but then it's going to take you a while to make it, so. And then it is going to be really quite bulky, so then you start looking to making it with cloth, then you kind of defeat the point. Time for a bit of drink. Been doing it nearly an hour. So, one more row, and we've done the worst bit for a while. So I've got the next two, but not the third one. So if we do get that far, and I'm still wide awake and it's not going to be stupid late by the time the video uploads, I can probably wind one more pair of bobbins without losing my marbles. Sort some windows out on my computer, because that's a thing. Right. There we go. Sort that out. That goes there. There we go. Right. And you need to be shorter. The only thing I can't do with these is put the thin collars on them quite so easily. I mean, they probably would work, but I think they're quite tight enough around these necks. It's because some of them are really skinny. Some of them are chubby. Some of them are like this one here is really skinny. You can't see it, it's off camera. Look, this one, super skinny. That's not going to take a thin collar because that'll just bag around. Need a picky penny pin. Sorry, arm butted the microphone. There we go. Okay. Give me the end. Right. He goes over there. Except, no, that's good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. You can go in a stick. You are too long because you are causing havoc. also causing Alex. So 1, 2, 5. Right. And you can go over there. You're too long. So let's take 2 out of this end and put 2 in this end. So now you can go round the corner. Co-worker alert. Hang on. excuse me, crept up on me. This bobbin is not doing well. It's looking really messy. Sort it out, because it's going to annoy me otherwise and get really tangled. I need to undo even more than this. Put this back in the bobbin winder. I'll make sure I don't let it tangle. There we go. Oh, again? It's supposed to be once an hour. Feels like once every 20 minutes. Sorry, Rory. Don't mean to sit on your paws. Even though I wound these bobbins really carefully, it seems like I didn't, you know? There you go, lads. One, two, three, four, five. Oh, stiff hands. Stiff a lot of me actually. Weather must be changing. Where's my pokey stick? There's a pokey stick. There you go. Poke those down. Right. It's not the right place. That's where the pin is going. Hello! This is day 2 of progress, but yes, yesterday I did the little bit at the top and the cloth stitch, and today I've done the rose ground, the cloth stitch, and obviously the little bit of ground that I'm done here. I'm finding it hard going because I did something to my back just before starting streaming, and nothing serious. It doesn't like blatantly hurt, but it's almost like if you were trying to hold your arm up like this at sort of 90 degrees and someone was trying to sit, the dog's trying to sit on it and you're trying to lift it. It's like this, there's this weight on my muscles that isn't normally there. So my back's moaning basically. Yeah, it doesn't help. And also, starting out the square, starting out when your bobbins aren't really tight, so you can't give them a bit of a tug, is also hard going because everything moves and kind of tries to tangle a bit more. And so until you've got a bit further in, it's not really secure. And pretty much by the time it's secure, you're on to the next triangle. But at least all your bobbins are already secure by then. So it's a bit like trying to knit in the round. The first few rows of knitting in the round just suck. Once you've got like an inch going, it's cake. But until you've got that inch, all you do is fight with it, and it tries to twist, and the needles are either, and the stitches are either too tight, too loose. The ones at the join, no matter what you do with them, always seem to be too loose. But once you've got an inch of the stuff and it's kind of settled in the I've got to be this shape kind of manner, it all shuts up and gets on with it. But it's like getting children to tidy their room, frankly. And so bobbins are a bit like that, in that it is very much like starting out with DPNs. You're fighting with it, they're being awkward for no frigging reason. It just kind of... It's hard going, which is why this first bit of this first triangle of a square bites. It really does. And it's why I kind of wanted to do something else, just as a bit of a change. But never mind. I couldn't decide, and it had already been a day, because of course now it's Wednesday, and I did yesterday and I'm doing today. But the problem, like everything is I get stuck on the fact that for every day I'm not doing this, it's a day tacked on at the other end, right? And with all the best will in the world, I kind of want it over and done with already. I know I've only done a third of it, but, I'm kind of looking forward to the end. And there is a part of me that says at the end of square 9, calling it quits. There really is. You have no idea how much I want that to be true at the moment. And I may do that. I may get to the end of 9 and I will have just, it's almost like the washing beetroot or whatever. You just can't face, oh, should we have beetroot for tea? No. You liked beetroot when you started, not so much today, And so I feel a little bit kind of triangled out a bit. And so I'm a bit annoyed with myself for not being able to make a decision. But the price of not making a decision is, well, you've got to get on with this then, haven't you? So I am. And I don't actually have too many more bobbins wound at the moment. In fact, there they are. I mean, if I get to the end of here and I'm still kind of excited, but I'm thinking not, as it's nearly 9:15, I can wind one more and do the cloth stitch bit here, and then that, and also the cloth stitch bit there. So, I mean, but right here, right now, I just kind of I'm just kind of tired, I think. I went to bed earlier last night. Well, I tried anyway, and it sort of worked. What I think that really did was remind my body actually how tired I am, and now I'm tired. So it's kind of frustrating. But yes. So how goes? Yeah. All those good ideas never seem to work out, do they? And of course, swapping back to these bobbins fixes one problem, causes another. And I think that's one of the really frustrating things, is that you can have a good day, but, kind of early evening, if you had a good day, you can't have a good evening as well, because you ran out of go points, Body says, done now, But if you go to bed now, you'll wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and then not be able to sleep. So you can't go to bed, but you're not waking up to do anything. But if you watch TV, you fall asleep, And now everything's just awkward. Even my arms are beginning to feel heavy and... I'm a bit like that, is that, you know, if I go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, or whether I go to bed at like 11 o'clock at night, I still tend to get up at the same time of day. I mean, this is one of the advantages of crafts, is you don't have to rush. And if you don't rush, you don't need half as much energy. So if you're feeling a little bit kind of slow, it's not really a problem because you're still making progress. And this is part of the reason I try and stream every day, is because even if I only do half an hour, pathetic as that might be, and so I do maybe like, you know, 1 bar of cloth stitch, well, it's still 1 more bar than I've done beforehand. And it's kind of like the long journey is made out of a number of steps. And even if all you can do today is 2 steps down your path, you're still 2 steps nearer your destination. And it is important sometimes to not beat yourself up for, you know, not doing much. You did what you could, and that's the important part of it, which is how I'm trying to view some of this, is that, you know, if I can do something, even if it's a little something, very much. And, you know, yes, today maybe all you wrote was, you know, one lousy method that did nothing much, right? But tomorrow, that method allows you to do a whole chunk of other things, and maybe it'll go twice as fast as a result. So, you know, there are some days when you're so on fire that it's ridiculous. You know, you knock out half the application and you're going, how did I do that? Yesterday you wrote a function that returns kind of true or false. Today you wrote the rest of the application and you're like, where did that come from? I've done that. I've actually got commits in some of my code that is like, I'm on fire. Yeah. And then a load of what I did, you know. Because it is only commits for me, I can write snarky comments in it. But I honestly do have a commit somewhere that's like, I'm on fire. Have a look back. Oh no! Well, yay, but I know if you know what I mean. Yeah, some like commit messages. Oh look, there's an X. When in doubt, write X. I got that one off my ex-husband. Oh look, there's another X and an XX. Yeah, I tend to do Unity because it allows for web games. But it's the classic thing. You spend I mean, I spotted a security issue on some servers at work on Monday. I immediately phoned up the dude whose servers they were and said, dude, I've got to switch this back on. This has not been on, but to switch it on, I've got to rip out all the rules that were there because it's basically crashing because it doesn't like the rules that are there. Your application may die here and now. I had no idea. Bear in mind, it was in non-prod and of course in prod. So I warned him and I said, you need to check everything still works. You need to do all the commands. You need to do everything. And he said, yeah. Didn't hear from him. Assumed he was all right. You know, I got other things to do. Didn't think too much about it. Until lunchtime yesterday. I get a phone call from him. Hi, Liz. Hi. This isn't working on my server. And I said, well, did you check it yesterday? No, it was all running. And I went, that's not what I said. I said you needed to check everything. And I meant everything. Stop everything. Start everything. Poke everything. You need to check. Now, obviously on production, probably not so much, but if you did it on non-prod, we'd know what to add to prod, right? And he was like, oh, I didn't understand, because I don't really know what it does. Well, the thing that I'd started is a thing which basically permits the running of executables and source code and things in certain directories per user. It's quite normal in a lot of places. He didn't get it. And when I said to him, well, yeah, I told you yesterday. That's exactly what I've turned off. It will stop your shit from working. Not surprised. Oh, well, I didn't understand. I said, well, you should have checked. Oh, well, I've spent hours on this, he said. Well, more for you. You should have done it yesterday. It was really hard to be sympathetic. It's really hard to be sympathetic when you explained why you've had to do it, because it is a security issue, and if the wrong people found out, jobs could be lost, right? So you need to do it. It's not something you can ignore. And he didn't do anything. And he's supposed to be training up these two guys, and they were moaning because he wasn't involving them on how to fix it. And then so it was quite surprising when I got the phone call afterwards, kind of like, oh, my stuff's not working. Anyway, I phoned them up, the two guys afterwards, and I went, right, I know you were saying earlier that the guy's wasn't involving you, so I'm going to tell you exactly what was wrong with it. And I explained, I phoned him up at 8:30 on Monday morning, warned him all of this, told him to check it, and it didn't. And they kind of went, okay, well, we don't really know what it does either, because, well, they're new to everything. So, and I went, that's fine. And I said, well, there are rules on these servers, but not on the other two. And they went, so that means it probably won't start on Sunday when we patch. Correct. Oh, okay. They understood. And they've only worked here for a couple of months, and they've never done anything of the sort. So, I still haven't heard from them for rules for servers 1 and 2 out of the 6, but, whatevs. I did tell you, So today, I went back to a project I'd abandoned. Now, I'm allowed to abandon it because it was my idea. No one's approved it. No one's going to unapprove it either. But no one's actually approved it. So I do not have to spend time on it. It is purely for my own edification, because the other guy's leaving, so it's purely for me. And, well, I went back to it today because said magic program basically it goes off and it says, yo computer, tell me this. And it takes the result. It then compares it to what it thinks it should be and tells me happy or sad. And today I made quite a considerable improvement to it, because originally for every test that I set up, so for every question and answer that I created, it was asking every server, irrelevant of whether it was for another operating system. Now, it has got pre-questions, so you can say to it things like, this question, ask the server, do you have this? If it says yes, then ask it the actual question. And so, it can skip questions. It can have no questions. It's allowed no questions. But if it's got a question, so if it says things like, do you have Java installed? Because lots of shit loves Java. And if the answer is yes, ask it a question, right? And it's basically, I'm writing my own Ansible. Because we were supposed to get one and we didn't, so I'm writing my own. But this one is purely for testing and checking that basically people are not editing config files that are none of their business. Because we've got some, and I found some, and some stuff that was supposed to be done, and things that are being turned off that are supposed to be on. So I've turned them back on again. And because I have it in an email, this must not be off for more than a few minutes. And this has probably been off for days. So, well, I know it's been off for days because the guy who did it was off today, so we didn't do it today. Or the team have done it themselves, which they're not supposed to do. So I've got this now that I can run periodically and write more tests for. The tests can be any command I like, and it can return as little or as much information as it like, and go, yes, this is valid or not. What it can't really do is have multiple answers. So it can't say, you're allowed, if you want to do a test, you've got to be very specific. So if it's allowed more than one answer, you have to work out how to make the test specific so that it does a prereq and only asks the right question for the right answer, which can be difficult, such as looking in files for version numbers and things. But, it's all doable. And so, I'm working on that, and I'll probably do some more on that because I'm going to need it, even if all I'm doing is writing more tests for it. It's a bit of a shame, really, because a lot of it seems to be picking up on things that somebody has done without telling anybody, even though, they'll claim otherwise. Usual shenanigans. But we've also got a number of teams who have worked out how they can do something, but that's not how the something is supposed to be done here. And because they've got admin access, they can do it. So they did. And one of the audits we had was, well, what stops them from basically doing anything? Nothing. Oh, so we failed that. Well, this will kind of stop them. Well, it won't stop them, but it will find them and alert me that someone's been fiddling, and I can go and put it back. I mean, I could even tell it to put back the thing that it was, if you know what I mean. Well, it is. I mean, we all know that paperwork for things is painful, and especially when it's something simple, and we all know that. But there is kind of reason for it, even though we hate it. And, so I'm sorry, but a team that have caused me trouble in the past, so no love lost on this one, have been caught with their pants down again. And this time someone's actually paying a bit more attention to it. And I'm feeling rather pleased because, well, it's a bit overdue, frankly. So, what a shame. But same Fiddlefingers idiot, who was off today, has been helping them achieve what they wanted without any authorization. So hence the need for the testing system to check and keep records. I mean, I could make it go really, really nuts and hold whole config files and say, if they so much as breathe on this file and it no longer equals this, then report it as a failure and, report the difference kind of deal. But, and I might extend it to have result types. Ooh! Well, I mean, if it's any consolation, I had a similar but different problem. When I joined the company I work for, well, the client that I now work for, I was married, and I had a married name. Shocker. And when I filled in certain forms, I filled them in with my married name because, well, I was married. But I hadn't actually changed my name at that point because I had been job hunting, and a number of jobs that I went for were like, we need a copy of your birth certificate, we need a copy of this, we need, proof of ID, and if they didn't match, things could get complicated. So, if this and a proof of address didn't match, it could be really quite awkward. So I decided not to change my name at that point. By the time I'd settled down, got a job, worked out it was going to be a good one or good enough, and all of those kind of things, I never actually got around to officially changing my name. So when I got divorced, because I'd never changed my name, I reverted to using my maiden name because, well, technically it's always been my name. I was only known as Mrs. Married Name, right? And I got, the mails I got. You need to prove you changed your name to this. Well, I can't. Well, what do you mean? Well, I can't prove to change it to this because I never actually changed it to insert married name. Well, we've got a passport. Go on then, show me. We've got, because they were like, we've got a copy of your passport in that name. First of all, don't have a passport. Secondly, no, you don't. Because I never officially on any legal document had that name. So if you reckon you've got that passport in that name for me, you didn't get it from me. Because I don't have a passport and that was never my name. So, and they got really quite upset about it. But we did all this documentation as this name. And I went, yeah, because I was going under that name. It doesn't say on there, is this legally your name? It says, what is your name? And I'm entitled to put the name I want. Yeah, exactly. I have seen so many people struggle because I don't know what it's like where you are, but in England, quite often they want the original. They won't do a photocopy, and then they frigging lose it. And it's like, no, I can't be bothered. And it's also there are so many places to change it in as well. Just everyone and their dog suddenly seems to come out their woodwork with your old name on it. And you're like, oh, for Christ's sake. So no, exactly. To be honest, the client I worked for was the only place I officially actually used my married name. So, yeah. Yeah. And that becomes the problem is just there's so many things that, maybe a long-term savings account that your parents set up for you when you're a child and possibly haven't even told you about. Yeah. And like everything, the important comes on the stuff that you actively use today. So your driving license, if you have a passport, you want it on your passport. But if you've got like some savings account that your parents opened for you, like, when you were born as hey, let's save for baby, and you haven't raided it all yet, well, changing the name on that really is the most least important thing right now, because, well, you haven't raided it yet. Because I actually I managed to bend a pin. Blimey. These pins are actually quite hard to bend. So that actually was impressive going. Let's replace that pin. I actually had that. I had a savings plan that my parents got me to have when I was younger. So I need to work out where it came from. Well, funny you should say that. Because I decided at sort of age 40-something to close mine. Because, well, like you say, it had been kicking around a bit. And frankly, it wasn't, the interest rates on it, I might have sort of shoved it in my mattress. And while it was some money I didn't know I had, considering how long it had been there and how high interest rates had been in some of the intervening periods, and how much money I thought I'd put in it way back in the day, because my parents had made me save into it, I thought there was £5,000 or £6,000 in there. And I'm sure my dad told me that's roughly how much was in there. Well, when I went to close it, it was only 2,500. Now, I know 2,500 is not to be shaking a stick at, but considering that was like 6 or 7 years hard savings of when I was like, between sort of 11 and 17 or whatever, right? And that it had been accruing interest all this time. and apparently my mother and father had put some money in because they had. It just didn't add up. Because, of course, the moment I took it into them and I kind of went, hey, I've got this saving thing. And they looked at me going, where the fuck did you dig that out of? We haven't used those for like 30 years. And I went, I know. Sorry. And they went off and they had to print me a whole new book just to close it. And you're like, really? What a waste of a tree. You know, you had to print me a whole new savings card and basically make me a new account, transfer everything into it just so you could close it. What kind of rubbish place is this? But I did close it and then went round the corner and dumped the money in the bank. Yeah. Well, and that's part of the thing. You know, my mother apparently put a percentage of my rent in there. Not that I knew that. I think she told my dad that and didn't do quite so much. But that's not the point. But, you know, there was, you know, by the time it got updated, it had a few extra lines on it. And it had, you know, whatever. But now all my family is gone. No one else is liable to ever pay into it. I was the only one who knew I even had it at that point. So, because they'd certainly forgotten. They hadn't written to me about it for years. So, and they're supposed to write to us every year to say about interest put on it. So, from that point of view, you know, it really was a dormant account to them. And they were just laughing because they had my money and no one was talking about it. So yeah, I took it, shoved it in my bank account. Because, well, that's what you do. 1, 2, And much as it's a little sad, you two can have a stick. All to yourselves. Don't get up to anything naughty. Right, I'm going to call it a break there because A, I've only got 2 more bobbins, so would need to wind another one. B, it's 9:30, which means that having been streaming now for 2.5 hours, that pretty much it will probably take me about 2 hours to upload it, which will take me to nearly midnight. So, and being as tired-ish as I am, I don't want to overdo it, especially with my back grumbling. So, I'll take a picture of that. So I am very, very sorry, everybody. I am going to run away. I'm going to cover things up, because that's what we like to do, to make sure they're all safe and sound from doggedy paws and things. And the more cloths that are on it, the best chance of dampening any danger should it get knocked off. So, I mean, it'd be even better if I kind of like screwed it all down, but anyway, so before the ads start in 20 seconds, I'm going to bid you good night, and hopefully I shall see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.